Hi, this is John Lodge of the Mood Blues, and you're listening to Rock on Radio with Danny, and thank you for keeping the faith, and Days of Future Past, my sojourn.
Look where we find ourselves once again.
In the safe house.
Ooh. Ooh. I felt that as soon as I backed into the driveway. I felt very safe.
Okay.
I did.
No tornadoes.
No. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rock On Radio. This is a sort of Franken Show edition.
Okay.
Because I was away with 5 other drunken old golfers. But I'm back, and we put this show together before I went away so that I could enjoy the rest of my week off. So, but I am back. Upon hearing this, know that I am back. So maybe.
We hope so.
Physically, I have returned. Mentally, I don't know. More on that perhaps the following week.
Gotcha.
But this is Rock On Radio. And we are not coming to you, as usual, from the 2-track studios of Deco Entertainment.
We're in Chapter 12 of the Library Editions.
We are, that's right. Is that what? No, have we done that many?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I always think I am. I mean, I think last time was 11, I think.
Well.
We'll go with it.
And that's okay, too. So, Rock On Radio is sponsored by Phoenix Art Supply and Framing, located on Route 611, otherwise known as Southeastern Road, in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. O'Connor's American Bar and Grill of East Hampton, Mount Holly, New Jersey. They are the official caterers of Rock On Radio. Lillipie's of Princeton. They can be found inside the Princeton Shopping Center, which is on Harrison Street at number 301 Harrison Street. Little Pies of Princeton. Jen makes hand grenades of happiness, and we eat them.
Yes, you do.
Yes, we do. I really need, I haven't had sourdough. Since I've been on this anti-bread kick, I haven't had sourdough bread.
Well, sourdough is a good bread for you.
I know. It's supposedly, if you're going to eat bread, that is the one because of its microbes are supposed to...
Yeah. I have a starter. I just haven't done anything with it. we keep feeding it like another child.
That's what I understand. I don't understand the whole process, but I understand that you have to keep feeding it.
I'm learning.
Did you get your starter from Adriana Groza?
I did get my first starter from her, but then we put it in the oven and cooked it accidentally. And then Aileen brought it home from her farm school, and she gave us the second starter. So
you killed Adriana Groza's starter by putting it in the oven?
We were not educated as we are now.
Adriana is from Transylvania.
I know. She's going to get me. I get it.
Yeah. Better have garlic and Well, you got the crucifixes all over the place. You better have garlic.
Blessed salt,
something.
Holy water. Yes.
Something to maneuver this.
I think I'm safe. It's just a starter.
Okay. Anyway, that's Lilla Pies of Princeton, who does have fantastic sourdough breads there. I did say the 2-track studios, which is where we're at, of Deco Entertainment, who's got some really big things coming down the road
Part of our
here.
Show, actually.
And actually, yeah, tonight's show is their initial kickoff partnership with the New Hope Winery. More about that in a second. Asbury Park Vibes. They are located on Main Street in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Doug and Diane, not only do they have a great podcast, but they have a staff full of photographers. And they also do bios and press releases and all that fun stuff for websites, for bands, solo artists, entertainers, performers, headshots, and things of that nature for anybody who may need that for some reason. Why are you doing that? Is there something about to fall on my head? Is this where I buy it? Is this how you're doing it? You lured me here to kill me, and now you're looking up on the ceiling?
I'm admiring my gorgeous brand new chandelier.
We got a new chandelier.
I did. Well, I repurposed
See,
it.
I'm not used to things looking up, so I don't look up. But I will look at that upon the completion of this.
I redesigned the whole thing and put it up myself, and there's a little tray on there. So I just was admiring it as I sit here.
I will admire it myself
It
as
is
soon
right
as
over
we.
your head.
Great. I hope your craftsmanship holds.
It does. Don't you trust me?
I didn't say that. I'm saying I just wonder why you kept looking up as if maybe it wasn't holding.
All of a sudden, I just was like, that looks really sharp.
Well, good.
I love it.
I will.
See?
Yeah, those edges are pretty sharp. They're going to slice through me like a hot knife through butter.
It looks like a big spider is what
It does, actually. Looks very nice.
Yes.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Excellent. Anyway, AsburyParkVibes.com. NewJerseyStage.com. New Jersey Stage is one of the finest arts and entertainment magazines you will ever happen upon.
That's right. With really great writers.
And Gary allows us to put this show on their radio station page, which is thepenguinrocks.com. Speaking of great writers, back in 2013 or 2014, after 5 years of doing rock on radio, a gentleman for the Aquarian did an article on me. And when he sent me the link, and I know you're going to find this shocking, when he sent me the link, I read this article, and it actually brought me to tears. It did. I had tears because
You're very sensitive.
No, but the way this gentleman wrote this piece, he perfectly encapsulated everything I've ever tried to do with this radio program. And the line that to this day still sticks in my head was that he wrote, Coleman, that's me,
I got that.
has no clear, or Coleman has no agenda other than to promote local, indie, and unsigned artists.
Right.
And he went on to say a bunch of other nice things about how that's, like a rarity in the music business, so on and so forth. I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what it is. But his name was John Pfeiffer. And it was brought to my attention the other day that John has passed away.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the one. Oh,
He was one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Not just because he wrote a nice article about me, but John was an incredible gentleman. Honest entertainment journalist. He didn't exaggerate. He wasn't sensational. Didn't go for the yellow journalism type of headlines.
Right.
And he will be sadly missed. So, with all, it's all due respect, and may the Lord bless him. John Pfeiffer has left us. He was a great guy. So, my girlfriend's here. Misty.
Misty's been dying to get down here since you arrived.
So, So it was. I was sorry. It was sad to hear that. Sinister Footwear. Yeah. If you go to sinisterfw.com and order any of the crazy zany socks that Tina sells, you will you can check everything out there, and if you use the promo code DCR Socks, you get 10% off at checkout. The Jersey Shore Jazz and Blues Foundation, JSJBF.org. Yay! Go there and see everything that they've got their hands into, and they have a trip coming up.
Yes, they do.
In Clarksdale, Mississippi, which Claire and I will be talking more about shortly.
We are the promotion team.
That's true.
Visit clarksdale.org.
That's right. Dee Dee's Lights. Dee Dee is the official chandler, also known as a candle maker, of Rock On Radio. Dee Dee is prepping us new candles.
Yay!
Yes.
That's what you said.
Yes, and so far, so good. The restraining order I spoke of last week has not come through, so I'm allowed to roam about the country, which I did. I went on a lam to Florida, disguised as a golf trip to evade the authorities.
I see.
Nah, Dee Dee wouldn't do that to me. Matter of fact, when we parted, she said to me, she says, it's just funny, she said, I can't talk to all my friends the way I talk to you. So, Dee Dee's been a supporter of this program from the day it actually aired. So, there's a long history there between her and I, and she's the official chandler of Rock On Radio.
Nice. Here she is. We have a candlestick maker. We have a baker. And you're the butcher.
Yeah, I'm the butcher, all right. And then I think all we have left is our newest partner, right?
Yeah, I don't have a list, so don't ask me. My list is back in 2 Track Studios.
Our newest partnership is with Tyndall Road Brewery. Now, as this show goes to air,
You may be the champion.
I may be a champion for a second time.
Nice.
Who knows?
You may be the king of Bordentown.
I may be the king of Bordentown.
Chili
That's
king
right.
of Bordentown.
Correct. I will report on this more next week, but
Okay.
the Bordentown, there's 2 restaurants. Well, there's a bar that used to have a chili contest the week between the NFL championship games and the Super Bowl when nothing was going on. They used to have a chili contest called the
right.
Hob Tavern.
That's right.
Marcy at Tyndall Road Brewery decided to have a
Cook-off.
chili contest on the same day. And she got together with Mary at the Hob, and they decided to take their top 3 and Tyndall Road's top 3. And we're going to have a 6-person chili cook-off.
Nice.
I think so.
Nice.
Fantastic. It'll be at Tyndall Road Brewery, as I said, as we speak. So, Tyndall Road Brewery is located at 102 Farnsworth Avenue in Bordentown, New Jersey. So,
Nice.
well, and if anybody else comes back to me, I will. I will gladly mention them. But that should be it for our sponsors. And we do have a big show tonight. We do.
We do. Really big show. Really big show.
I spoke. Deco Entertainment has partnered not only with us, but with the Newtown or the New Hope Winery
Right.
over in New Hope, Pennsylvania,
Makes sense.
to begin bringing various artists, some deco, some not, to the New Hope Winery. One of which is March 2nd. Now, if you listened to last week's Rock On Radio, you heard her call, and Sharon Lasher tried to turn her into a Jersey girl.
I was there too. I think she could definitely be a Jersey girl.
She is from, she can.
Yeah.
She's got the swagger.
She does.
But
The attitude.
she lives in Nashville, or somewhere around Nashville, Tennessee. She does a regular residency at Friends in Low Places. And I believe it's every Tuesday that she's there. But on March 2nd, she is bringing her show and her band to the New Hope Winery, which is located on Old York Road or New York Road in New Hope. I would have to look it up. I'll have it by the end of the interview. But recently I sat down and did an interview with her. And we discussed the upcoming show, her thoughts on music, her thoughts on the future of a lot of things. And guess who's opening for them?
Southpaw.
The other Deco Entertainment artist, Southpaw, yes. So, kudos to Bruce and Charlie for putting these things together and working with the New Hope Winery. I noticed that we were not consulted on any of this.
We don't need to be.
Yeah, well, I know that's their story and they're sticking to it. I personally think it's because I cannot be trusted.
Well, I can concur with that.
Nah,
And actually, you were close with Old York Road. It's lower.
Lower York Road.
I know you got it right last week.
6123
Yeah.
Lower York Road,
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Well, before we get to we have Allie Colleen is her name. Mm-hmm. Following Allie, we have an interview with blues great Sean Chambers. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to end the program with my interview with the legend that is Judy Collins.
Wow, that's cool.
So we got a really big shoe coming up. But before we get to the Allie interview, we're gonna do this song from her, which is from her EP, which was just released on February 21st. Mm-hmm. Sincerely, Rolling Stone. Yep. And the first tune that we're going to play a tune, we're going to do the interview, and we're going to follow it up with another song. So what is the first song we said we were going to play? Household Name.
Household Name.
And then we are going to hear the interview, and then we will play one more tune.
That's right.
So here it is, our interview with Allie Colleen, promoting her March 2nd gig with Southpaw at the New Hope Winery.
Heavy is the head that wears a country crown. Pockets full of gold will drag you down. Every blessing is a curse, yeah, this I know. You won't find me riding in the shadows. Heavy is the head that wears a country crown. Like cowboy renegades, going against the grain, breaking our backs for the songs we chase, burning in our blood, poured out on the stage, standing in the fire, got my boots to blame, making my own way from the trails they blaze, carrying the weight of a household name, household name. It's funny how fame has a way of feeling like a ghost town. Like my head and heart are headed for a showdown. He made the thunder roll like a lightning strike. They say it never hits in the same place twice. If there's anything he taught me, I won't let the odds stop me. Like cavalry renegades, going against the grain, breaking our backs for the songs we chase, burning in our blood, poured out on the stage, sitting in the fire, got my boots to blame, making my own way from the trails they blaze, carrying the weight of a household name, a household name, household. Heavy is a head that wears a country crown. Heavy is a head that wears a country crown. Heavy is a head that wears a country crown. Heavy is a head that wears a country crown.
We spoke with an outlet last week who had seen a couple shows at the winery that they said were really good shows, and they were acoustic shows. So I'm really interested to check the band, like to sound check there. Sound check's my favorite thing, so I'm actually excited.
Oh, really? Why sound check your favorite thing?
Sound check is my favorite thing because it's like the first time that you get to. It sounds so whimsical and like it sounds a little silly, but it's like the first time you get to meet somebody. Like it's like the first time that you get to sing in a room and nobody's in there, right? So your show's going to be so different later when you get to do your show, hopefully, right? Hopefully people show up and there's a lot of people in the room and it's a little different. But there's just something really cool about it. For me, I grew up, I had a little tiny stage in like this sports barn that we had on my family's property, and that's where I spent all my time just alone on this little stage. When I say stage, it was just like an inch off the ground, you know what I mean? But that was a stage. It just wasn't floor level, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And I think something about that has just made me fall in love with like big empty rooms to like sing in.
All right. Well, the New Hope Winery, I think you're going to find, is a very it's wide but not deep. So you've got it holds, I think, 120 or 200.
Does it have a high ceiling or like a mid or like a normal ceiling? You think?
Like a it's not high, but it's not low. It's like a mid range type of deal. So your audience.
We are loud. We are really loud.
Uh-oh.
So we'll see how it goes.
Your audience is more left to right than front to back. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But it's an intimate room. You should be. It's an intimate room, and it's a nice venue. It really is. But so that's great. So you had your debut album out. Is that what we're on the road supporting? And was that what you were on the road with? You just got off the road with Jelly Roll, right?
We just came off there with Jelly Roll. We put out an album in 2021. Okay. We've put out probably 6 or 7 projects since then, but they're all singles. You know what I mean? So I think that maybe that is kind of something that gets a little confused in the write-up. But we have been traveling with all of our music for the last couple of years. Right now, we're playing like all of our singles. And then we've already added the new music into our set list. So we have an EP coming out on February 21st, just the week before this run. So we're going to be playing the 5 new songs from that album as well as stuff from the Stones album and the singles that we've put out since.
Okay. Now, wow. All right. Now, I'm an old guy. All right. I'm back in the day when, before they even put out EPs or, an EP to us was a double side of a 45 RPM record.
Right. You were back in the day when you had money behind your music.
Well, yeah. Whatever that might have been, those days of the record companies doing that, as we know, are pretty much gone, except for the major labels. But
right, but I mean, you could do a 13-song album back then for $30,000. Yeah, and I can do a single today for 10.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean,
yeah,
it's not funny,
so
actually.
Crazy. I mean, I'm not laughing yet, but I think there's going to be a day when we can look back and be like, hey, those times,
Yeah.
But not yet. Not yet for me.
Yeah, right. Well, and with all, like you just said, now you have your debut album, and then you put out a bunch of singles, and now you're putting out an EP. What was the thought process behind that, and why didn't you, combine them? Because I know a lot of bands do that now. They'll put out 5 singles and then combine them and put the album out once they've released every single.
I don't write that way. I'm not short of songs. I'm not putting out EPs or singles because I only have 1 song at a time or I only have 5 songs at a time. I put out projects. So if we're only going to focus on Halos and Horns sonically, right, which is a single from the past, then that's what we'll do. And we'll focus a whole season on promoting and doing this thing with Halos and Horns and this type of sonic song. For me to jump to a 5-song EP from that is because these are the 5 songs that I've carried with me over the last probably 5 years that have never got to make a single or an album. You know what I mean? And so these are 5 really intentional songs that I actually don't find that people are maybe going to relate to as much as they would my other music. Like, these are 5 songs that Allie really wrote about herself. And those are the ones that usually don't make it out there, because you try and be relatable and you try and you make songs for your audience. Like, I've always tried to be a songwriter and an artist who is writing narratives for people, opposed to just constantly putting out projects that tells you something about me. And so all that to say, I think we kind of flipped the script on this one a little bit and wanted to put out such a sincere personal project, and that's what Sincerely is, and that's the intent of it. Is it's just the 5 songs that we've had for the last little while that we didn't really know what to do with, and so that's why we put them together in a group, and I'm really, really excited about it. But the oldest one is from 2021, and then the other 4 we've probably written in the last year or 2.
Recently, I had the opportunity to interview Judy Collins, and I said to her, as a songwriter, when you put your music out there, you pretty much lose control over it. Well, you actually lose control over it because now it's in the hands of your listeners, your fans, your audiences, and
right.
they can interpret things in different ways.
Absolutely.
So what it means to one person may mean something different, or the meaning or what they think you mean in your writing may not actually be what you mean. So when you put out an album or singles like you just talked about that are on a personal level, are they open to interpretation, or can people understand what you want to get across or what you're talking about in your lyrics when you perform?
Well, there's probably much more than 2 when it comes to type of listeners, but when I think about my followers and my fan base and the people that are consuming my music, it's always one of the 2. It's always someone who just knows all the songs, right, and doesn't know a single thing about Allie. I love that side. I lean a little more towards that side. And then there's the other side that's really personally invested in Allie and, you know, works pretty hard to at least consume whatever personal stuff I'm willing to share, right, on a social basis. So all that to say, I think that this project, I hope that the listener takes every single song and just runs with it, right, and just paints it with their own world, their own colors, their own things. I'm hoping that these songs are relatable enough to where they're able to do that. I don't know if someone from Idaho is going to listen to Oklahoma Mountains and feel any type of way about it, because I don't know if they're going to understand that Oklahoma doesn't have any mountains at all. It's just flat. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the whole point of Oklahoma Mountains is they say there ain't no mountains in Oklahoma, then why have I always had to climb? Right? And I think that that's something that everybody could relate to, is just the struggle of like your own life. So I think that this project can be taken either way. I get a little insecure about the part that you're talking about when they start trying to connect dots for me, right? Because you're right, I don't have any control on that. And I don't know what narrative they're going to put on me and why I wrote the song and who it's about, right? And those kinds of things. But that's just something that you have to kind of let go if you're going to share your music with as many people as you can.
Judy's response to that actually was, life is open to interpretation. Everything in life is open to interpretation. So
so true.
And especially like art. When you what the heck's the word I'm looking for? Abstract art, right? You look at a canvas and there's a black dot in the middle of a white canvas, and one person looks at it like, oh, it's the meaning of life, and the next person looks at it like, that's a bug on a windshield in a snowstorm, you know? So right. It can go either way with that. So when you are for this tour at the New Hope Winery and beyond, what are we doing on the road? Are we solo, just you? Is there a band behind you?
It'll be my band and me. As I said, we're pretty loud. We have a pretty heavy show, I think, in the terms of like country. Like if someone comes to hear us who thinks that we do country music and maybe isn't familiar with our music, always a little surprised. It leans more on the rock side. I have a heck of a potty mouth, to be honest. But it's in my songs, so it's like if you've heard my music, then you would know. And so, but I get to travel with my band, and I love my band. I've got a drummer and a bass player and a guitar player and myself on stage, and then I travel with a front of house girl, and my little brother comes and helps us out, and it's just a big family, and it's really cool. So we'll all be there, and then we'll all hang around after, and it's just usually a really good time, and we're really excited.
Oh, so you'll be... will you be at a signing merch and all that sort of thing for the people in attendance? Oh, nice.
Yep. Okay. My manager, Bev, and I, we sell all of our merch together. So I'll be there as long as anyone else is there. I'd love to sell and sign anything to anyone who comes. We take pictures, we do all that kind of stuff. We also have like pre-show opportunity meet and greets available on our website, and those are really personal. Like I sing songs and we do Q&As and those kinds of things, and so that's much different than the merch experience. But either way, we'll definitely shake hands.
Do you ever do VIP meet and greets or anything of that
nature?
Yeah,
that's what I just mentioned. We have a VIP package that we sell before the show, and so if someone's interested in purchasing that, you can come in before the show. And again, like I'll sing unreleased songs for you, and we'll hang out, and we'll hang out for a minute. We'll do Q&As and those kinds of things, and so that is a meet and greet experience that people can purchase before show.
Well, that's great.
But then we also do the merch thing at the end of the night.
I've been to a couple of those VIP meet and greets when I've been asked to cover events, and it literally, you walked in, shook the guy's hand, and you walked out. They kept you moving.
I know. Isn't that so crazy? I've done that too, and I paid for it, and it's like, dang it. Like, oh, dang it. So we really try and make it worth it. We really try and make it an experience. And then also that just helps me out, because almost always if someone gets a VIP experience, they almost always come to another show down the road, kind of thing. So we get to make a little family out of it.
Well, I see that your stuff is played on stations like Outlaw Country on Sirius XM.
Yes.
Versus, I'm assuming, and probably wrongly, but versus like a regular country station. Am I right? Or do you get a lot of airplay?
I don't think you're wrong. Well, so the airplay world is weird for us in the sense that we are not actively, like, we don't have an active radio single, but we do have a lot of stations that pick us up, and we have a lot of curated podcasts and curated playlists, like through Spotify and Apple iTunes and like Amazon and those kinds of things, where we land more on the outlaw route. And so to me, like, the best way that I can explain it is I do, like, Kelsey Ballerini is a country artist, right? I am a country artist, but I don't find that Kelsey Ballerini and I land on the same playlists. You know what I mean? So I think it's true in that way that, like, outlaw country might not represent country to some people if they're expecting something more like the top 10, kind of radio stuff. Whereas, like, the outlaw stuff is more like me and Hardy and kind of more that pop punk world of country music.
One of my favorite,
that's even a thing for some people.
One of my buddy listens to outlaw country all the time, and one of my favorite outlaw country artists that I've heard at his house is Jesse Dayton. That guy cracks me up.
I've heard about Jesse Dayton, but I'm not familiar at all.
He was just on the road, I guess, last year for the better part of the year with Samantha Fish, because they did an album together. But his lyrics are his lyrics are classic, and that's what drives his popularity. So, given the fact that your lyrics are personal, as you said, or there are things about Allie, how important are they to you? Not only when you write about yourself, but when you try to make the mood maybe a little bit lighter.
When I try to make the mood a little bit lighter, that's a sonic placement for me. All of, like, our fun, like, happier stuff or whatever the case might be is always going to be a sonic thing for me. I'm a really big sensory person, and so when you want to look at Allie's, like, funner stuff, that's when you're going to get more into the track based, like, pop country things, because I think that that's just a vibe, and I love to do it. And then the personal things, I feel like it's just a constant balance between saying something the way that Allie would say it and really trying, because I think sometimes people forget, like, yes, I would totally love to be a rock star. You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely part of the end goal. But I started making music as a kid to learn how to communicate better for myself.
Really?
So all that to say, that's not something that's ever going to go away from my music. So it's always a fine line for me between how would Allie say this, and then also how is this going to be received by everybody, because it's also not so much about me anymore. And I enjoy that. I really do. I think it's a fun challenge, and it's something that is also a little easier sometimes to write it in a different way, because then it kind of takes the pressure off of the personal part, and I do like that sometimes.
Now, it's up to you here, Allie. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, and we'll just move on. But you say communicate better, in reference to what?
I just felt like as a child, I had really, really big emotions that I don't feel like, I would say kids my age were experiencing, but I wasn't around kids my age until I was probably, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, like, when I was first learning to communicate, like I started writing songs when I was 8 years old. And I just felt like I was received better, right? Like I wasn't a confident communicator as a kid, and I wasn't confident about sharing my emotions, and I wasn't confident about just communicating in general with people I didn't feel like, but I could sing to anybody. And I was really comfortable in that place. So I would write songs and I would share them with my family, you know, or I would write songs and I'd share them with my friends. And that was kind of my way of being like, these are my really big emotions that I have right now that I don't really know how to talk to you about. And that's something that I still feel today. Is that even today, I don't feel like I communicate well with others sometimes. But I can sing to anybody, and I feel like I can relate to anybody when I can sing to them.
Well, just for the record, Allie, you're doing a heck of a job in this interview, communicating very well.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
So before I wrap it up and let you go, what's your favorite part about being on the road?
The kids that I get to meet. I love all of my meetings with all of my people of all ages. I really, really absolutely enjoy meeting people as much as I find people to be really, really confusing. I love the moments with the kids, right? The moment where the 13-year-old's going to pull you aside and go, hey, I also sing. And I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to give her an opportunity to sing to me or something, but it always is kind of weird, but it's the coolest little moment because I remember being on that side. I remember being the really young girl who waited in line to, as you mentioned earlier, shake your hand and walk out of the room. And that was enough for me. I thought that was the coolest thing. And so that's also why I really enjoy meeting people, because I want to make them feel seen. I don't want to make them feel like a hand that was shook and sent out of a room. And I drew a little horseshoe on my face for years. Now I finally have it tattooed. I have a little horseshoe face tat under my eye, but for years it was eyeliner. And so now little girls come through my merch line and they all will leave with a little eyeliner horse tattoo on their face. And it's the coolest little thing. And it's just like a fun little community to make these young girls just feel like absolute just bosses, you know?
Fantastic.
It's so cool.
So where do you go after the New Hope Winery? What's the rest of the tour look like?
New Hope is our last stop, I believe. So we leave out on the 28th from Nashville, and we play the 28th and the 29th. We hit like New York, and we hit a couple places along the way, and then we end in PA and New Hope, and then we come back to Nashville. I have a regular gig in Nashville here on Tuesdays. If anyone ever travels into town, you'll see me doing my cover set downtown, just like anybody else. So I got to get back to town to do that.
Where, what bar?
I play on the rooftop of Friends in Low Places downtown. I always play noon to 3 on Tuesdays for the most part, and it's just kind of my time for anyone who comes into town to come up and hang for a little bit. It's really intimate. It's really casual. But I am still doing the Broadway thing for my 10th year in this town.
They say home is where the heart is. God, I know that's right. It keeps me up at night, being tangled in these roots, feeling like a phantom at the front door, the threshold of my past. I'm scared of coming back, 'cause I'm somewhere in between, holding on and doing all I can to let go. Well, they say there ain't no mountains in Oklahoma, and why the hell have I always had to climb, carrying a shadow on my shoulder? Some things just get heavier with time. I was raised by the rain, copperhead blood in my veins. Of everything I've faced, I can't get over those mountains in Oklahoma. Skeleton in that closet, she looks just like me, with shackles on her feet, and they refuse to let her go. Feeling like I'm caught in the crossfire of who I am and a memory of who they want me to be. But I'd be lying to myself to say I'm not afraid to fail. They say there ain't no mountains in Oklahoma, then why the hell have I always had to climb? Carrying a shadow on my shoulder, some things just get heavier with time. I was raised by the rain, copperhead blood in my veins. Of everything I faced, I can't get over those mountains in Oklahoma. They say there ain't no mountains in Oklahoma, then why the hell have I always had to climb? Carrying a shadow on my shoulder, some things just get heavier with time. I was raised by the rain, copperhead blood running through my veins. Of everything I faced, I can't get over. I'd be proud to spend my whole life climbing over those mountains in Oklahoma. Those mountains in Oklahoma.
There we go. Allie. Well, Allie Colleen, like Jolene, my girlfriend, and she misses me.
Yeah, her name is Misty. So
Yeah.
she missed you.
Misty me.
Missed me. Missed me. She missed me.
Well, Misty's here she comes. Come on, good girl. There you go. That's what I always like about doing the shows from here, because
She's happy to see you.
Misty gets right. Finally, a woman happy to see me. I'm excited about that. She has no opposable thumb, so
No.
she can't do a file a restraining order either. But Misty's here. We are here, Rock On Radio. Now, our second interview is with a gentleman by the name of Sean Chambers. Sean is out on the road. He was a member and had played with Savoy Brown on and off.
Nice.
Very good friend of Kim Simmons. He's got a new album out. It's a live album. You're going to hear tracks from it in this interview. It's on Quarto Valley Records. Sean is a great guy. So here's my interview, and he's from Florida. I might have to go down. He asked me where I was going when I was down there. He's not too far from where I'll be.
Good.
But he is Sean Chambers, and he is a blues man.
Nice.
So you're going to hear a few tunes from Sean in this interview from the new live album. So here he is, Sean Chambers. Hello, Sean Chambers. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Danny. How you doing?
I am always very excited to talk to you, and especially now, since you have a brand new album out, a live album that you did at Daryl's house, and you did it with the Savoy Brown Rhythm Section. So let's hear about that.
Yeah, man, we were on tour last April and May. Of course, we did some more stuff in like July and August and September, October. But May 2nd of last year, 2024, we played Daryl's House Club in Pawling, New York, and recorded a live album there. And like you mentioned, I had Pat DeSalvo on bass and Garnett Grimm on drums from the Savoy Brown band. And basically the album consists, it's a live album, and it consists of, for the majority of the material is from my prior CDs, and then we did 3 Savoy Brown songs, and that's about it, you know. basically it's just it's stuff from my old albums and then a few Savoy songs on there. And hopefully everybody will like it.
Well, what made you do it at Daryl's house?
Well, Daryl's house is totally set up for recording and videoing. As a matter of fact, Savoy Brown, several years ago, before Kim Simmons passed away, did a DVD at Daryl's house. And so they're just, and Peter Moshe runs sound there, and he's also Daryl Hall's sound guy. And, the Daryl Hall television show, Daryl's house. He does all the audio engineering and recording for that. He's been working with Daryl for like 30 years. So it's Daryl's House Club where we played, owned by Daryl Hall. Is they have like they have a whole separate room. It's almost like it pretty much is a studio, and so they mic everything up and run it into the isolation booth into their studio that's right there in the club, and so they offer bands, the opportunity to record a live album, do a live DVD, etc. So we went ahead and took them up on it, and the label was saying we need to do a live record, and we're writing some music. We'd like to follow this up in about 10 months, maybe 12 months with a studio CD, but we weren't quite ready to do a studio CD yet. So the label said, why don't you just do a live CD? And we said, okay, that's a great idea. So out of all the clubs we were playing, Daryl's house made sense because they're already set up to do all that stuff.
And that label would be Quarto Valley Records.
Quarto Valley Records, right.
Right. And they're very friendly to blues music artists such as yourself, which is always a good thing to have a label behind you.
Man, it is. They're great, and it's they're not your typical blues label. I mean, they've got guys like Paul Rogers from Bad Company on the label. They've got Edgar Winter. Savoy Brown, was on the label.
And do they still have Deborah Bonham? I know she used to be John Bonham's sister.
They've got Deborah Bonham, Tom Hambridge, Buddy Guy's drummer, and he also has his own band. Tom Hambridge just recently signed with them. So it's a really diversified record label, and they're not like your typical just kind of blues label. And they're a great group of people, man. It's just really it's really nice to be on the label and work with such a professional group,
And I think the last time I had spoken with you, you had just put out a studio album, and you have always been friendly with the guys from Savoy Brown as far as their rhythm section goes. And as I recall, you were very excited about that one as well. And now you've gone in this direction. So before we continue with the album, tell the listeners exactly where Sean Chambers came from. Give us your backstory a little bit.
Well, I was born in Melbourne, Florida, which is on the east coast of Florida. My dad was an engineer at the Kennedy Space Center for about 6 years. And then when I was 6 or 7 years old, we relocated to Tampa, Florida, on the West Coast. And I grew up in Tampa. I kind of consider Tampa my hometown. I don't remember a whole lot about living in Melbourne, just bits and pieces. So I pretty much grew up in Tampa, and always knew that I wanted to play music. I didn't know what kind of music or what instrument. I kind of was leaning towards drums because I was always banging on stuff, And, when I talked to my parents about playing an instrument, they said anything but drums because my dad didn't want to hear drums all day long. So they bought me a guitar when I was 11 years old, and I started kind of playing by ear and learning. Didn't find out anything about the blues at that age at 11. So I was listening to a bunch of classic rock stuff back in those days, like Led Zeppelin and Leonard Skinner and Boston and a lot of rock stuff, Ozzy and Judas Priest and, all that good stuff. And one day a buddy of mine was about a year older than me. I was probably 15 at the time, maybe 14 and a half, almost 15. Anyways, he turned 16, got his driver's license. His dad had bought him, remember the Pinto? The Pintos, the cars, the Pinto.
Oh, yeah. The exploding, the exploding ones?
Right. So he had bought him this pea green used Pinto, and Phil was his name. He called me up and said, "Hey, I got my license. You want me to pick you up? We'll go for a ride." I go, "Yeah, definitely." So he picked me up, and at this time, I was just kind of learning to play by ear, and I was basically doing power chords and learning, like classic rock stuff. But it didn't make like the hair on my arm stand up or give me chill bumps or anything like that. And I was still trying to navigate the waters and figure out if that's guitar is what I want to do, and etc. So long story short, we went for a ride that day, and he put in a cassette tape, and the first song that came on was Red House by Jimi Hendrix. And I was like, that's the first time I got chill bumps, and the hair on my arms did stand up. And I said, what kind of music is this? Who is this? He said, this is Jimi Hendrix. It's blues music. And that's when it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I want to play right here. So I was on a Hendrix trip for like 2 or 3 years, and I listened to nothing but Hendrix over and over and over and over. Then one day, I think I was at a local 7-Eleven is what it was at the time, and another buddy of mine, Justin, pulled up, and he had Voodoo Child playing, and he goes, "Hey, come here for a minute." And we just happened to be at the store at the same time, and I was walking into the store, and he was pulling up. He goes, "You know who this is?" And it was Voodoo Child. I said, "Hendrix?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Keep listening." I was like, man, this is amazing, but it doesn't sound quite like Hendrix. And then he said, Stevie Ray Vaughan. So then I got turned on to Stevie, and I was on a Stevie trip for a while. And then I started learning about a lot of Stevie's influences, like, Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and Lightning Hopkins and, Son House and all those guys. So I kind of backed my way into the blues, and the rest is history. Still trying to make things happen.
It's kind of funny how that takes you down a rabbit hole, as they call it.
Oh my
today,
God! Yeah, I'm still going down that rabbit hole.
But it's when I was 12 and I received my first Led Zeppelin album as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa! Within months, I had Led Zeppelin 1 and I had Led Zeppelin 2, and for me, as a 13-year-old kid, I had no idea that most of the tunes on Led Zeppelin 1 were like Willie Dixon. Then all of a sudden it hit me, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, actually Zeppelin kind of got, you probably know, but I mean, Zeppelin, I think they're one of the best bands of all time, no matter what they did. But, I mean, they got ridiculed back in the day because people said they were a copycat band and this and that. But, I mean, the whole thing is like, whenever I do an album, I like to do 2 or 3 covers, and they may be obscure covers, but, by guys who inspired me growing up and made me, want to play the blues and play guitar. And, that's what they did, but it's all a matter of making it unique and making it, your own. Like, going backwards just a little bit, talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan, his first album, the title cut was Texas Flood. And for decades, probably 20-some years, I just automatically assumed that was a Stevie song, but it was actually written by a guy named Larry Davis, who I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
I remember finding out Stevie didn't write that song. I mean, he made, and he titled his album after that song. And it's about how you play it, how you present the music, and making it unique and making it original. So. But Zeppelin had some great originals, and they did some great covers, man. They definitely, everybody, I heard one guy say one time, a Navin buddy guy or something like that, he said, the blues doesn't belong to anybody. We all steal a little bit here and there and borrow a little bit here and there and take some stuff from everybody. So,
well, because the majority, and you know this as a guitar player, you're only dealing literally with a handful of chords for the most part that are really blues friendly. Now that may be painting with a broad brush, but you know what I'm talking about. So it's very difficult to create new blues music that doesn't sound like old blues music somewhere.
There's this saying we have. It's like everything has already been done. Like you got to write a song and somebody will say, "Oh, that sounds just like this," or sounds just like that. And it does. It's like all the great stuff. I'm not saying that all the great stuff's already been done, but I mean, we're just, we're riding on the backs of the originators, man. Guys like Sunhouse and Lightning Hopkins and Wolf and Muddy Waters, and those guys were the originators of. Those are the guys that bands like the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin, they all admired and copied their stuff, and Hendrix as well,
And the scary part is it was much easier to find those recordings from the people like Sunhouse and Sonny Boy Williamson and so on and so forth 60 years ago than it is now.
I know. I stuck one of my favorite all-time blues guitar players is Albert Collins.
Okay.
And my wife and I were putting some stuff in storage a few months ago, and I have a ton of CDs. Of course, I haven't listened to them in years. And I went through them real quick, and I said, you know what? Because I actually have a car that still has a CD player in
Yeah,
it.
me too.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take like a handful of CDs just so I can have some driving music, And I've been listening to that Albert Collins CD, man, for the last like 3 weeks, and I mean, there's just nobody who has his tone and the way he just fronted his band and the way he sang and the way he played. And I mean, just stuff like that. It's not around anymore,
No.
I mean, I know everything evolves, and everything, but, man, I haven't heard that Albert Collins album in years. And it was actually, speaking of, our live album, this is a live album. It was live at I forget where. But it was an Albert Collins live album, and it just still gives me chill bumps. And it made me think when I listened to it, because it's been years since I've listened to that CD. Man, this doesn't sound like anybody on the scene nowadays. There's nobody that sounds like that.
No, isn't that the one that's got "If You Love Me Like You Say" on it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not drunk. I'm just drinking.
Yep.
And, the whole thing. Yeah, exactly, man. He was great. He was just a one of a kind guy. I actually got to meet him, and he signed one of my guitars, which I still have, at Skipper Smokehouse in Tampa back in 1993, about 7 months before he died.
Oh, nice. Oh, good for you, man.
Yeah, man, he was such a sweetheart of a guy, too.
That's what I heard. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but anybody that I've spoken to who has said the same thing.
Yeah, I was lucky to have met him and got to hang out with him for a little while.
If you're just tuning in, this is Rock On Radio. I am here on the phone with the great Sean Chambers, whose new album, Live from Daryl's House, is going to be released on February 28th. And it features Sean along with the Savoy Brown rhythm section. Well, you played with another great. You played with the fantastic Hubert Sumlin, who I believe was a Jersey guy, right? Over here where I'm at?
Well, he at the end, towards the end of his life, he moved to Jersey. When I first met him, he lived in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Somebody moved to Jersey?
Well, he moved to Jersey when we were talking earlier about his girlfriend / manager.
Okay.
Moved him to Jersey after his wife Bee passed away. But he lived in a house that actually Howlin' Wolf found for him, and said, Hubert, I found you a good house. You should buy this house. And before our very first tour that I ever did with him, it was out to California, down to Portland, Oregon, a few shows in Oregon, and a few shows in California. Then we went up to like Seattle and did a few shows around Washington. And then we went up to like Vancouver, BC, and did some shows. But before that tour, I think it was about a 3-week tour or so, he flew me to his house for like 3 days. And we just woodshedded in his basement. And he taught me, all the stuff, what to do. And
being taught by the master, or one of the masters.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And the thing is, he was never really strict about anything. He said, man, I just have fun, man. He goes, you make a mistake, it's no big deal. Just let your hair down and have a good time. And he was always just very accommodating and just made you, like, the first time I met him, was at the Peabody Motel. Because the very first time I did a show with him, my manager called me up, who was managing me at the time, and then started managing Hubert. And he had got him booked at Blues Stock, which was a festival in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, I've been to the Peabody.
Yeah. So he happened to be staying at the Peabody in Memphis, and so he called me and said, Hubert's playing Blues Stock in Memphis. He needs a band. Are you and your band interested? I said, let me think about it for a second. Yes. My manager Steve said, well, Hubert said just learn, like 80% of the Wolf tunes, Wolf hits, and whatever songs of Hubert's you guys want to learn. Basically, Hubert gave me reign to just make the set list. He kind of made me the band leader, and then so before we did our first show together, my manager took me to the Peabody to meet him, and we went up to his room, and I was just nervous as could be, and I had the set list in my hand, and I was hoping he would approve it, and et cetera. And he opened the door, and, come on in, partner. Oh, man, son, nice to meet you, and all this stuff. And I said, Hubert, so I want you to look at the set list and make sure this is okay. And he's like, son, everything's fine, man. He goes, all I want you to do is just let your hair down and have a good time. He goes, that's all I want you to do. And he just glanced at the set list, and he said, it looks good to me. And he just had a way of instantly making me and everybody that was around him just comfortable and not and at ease. You know what I mean?
That was the exact term I was going to use, and that's got to put you at ease immediately.
Yeah, man. He was just such a sweetheart of a guy. I can't even express that enough.
Well, on the live album, you have a tune or two from Hubert, correct?
Yeah. We did Louise, which is a slow blues number that him and Alan Wolf. And that's also the last album. I believe I talked with you also like we were just saying a couple years ago. It's called That's What I'm Talking About. And that was a tribute to Hubert Sumlin. And we did basically, all Hubert and Alan Wolf songs. I wrote one song called Hubert's Song. It's dedicated to Hubert. But Louise is on my last record, so on the live record, you're going to hear that live from Daryl's House Club.
All right, well, we're going to hear it live right now. How's that?
Sounds good to me. Crank it up.
All right, here's Sean Chambers off his new record called Live from or at? Where am I here?
Well, it's live from Daryl. Technically, the name of the album is Live from Daryl's House Club. Featuring right. The Savoy Brown Rhythm section. Yeah.
All right. And here is Louise.
For all the blues fans in Pawing, are you out there? Louise, the sweetest girl I know. Louise, the sweetest girl I know. Came all the way down from St. Louis, way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Louise, won't you come back home? Louise, won't you come back home? Somebody been fishing in your pond, Louise, since you've been gone. won't you come back home? Louise, won't you come back home? Somebody been digging for your precious Louise since you've been gone. Come on home, Louise, been gone too long.
Louise, an old Hubert Sumlin tune that Sean put on this live album. When you were putting the music together for the live album, did you specifically say, I need to put a couple of Hubert tunes on there and a couple of Savoy Brown tunes on there? Or is that just kind of the way it fell?
No, not really, to be honest with you. It's just part of our set. You know, and when we were touring, it was part of, our set list. So we recorded the whole show, which was like, 30 songs, 25 songs, something like that. And then what I did is I decided, it was hard because a lot of the songs are, I hold close to my heart and I enjoy playing, but you have to pick 11 or 12, So I had to whittle it down. And all the songs on the live CD, including Louise, are just songs that we play, in our live show. How
many tracks are on the album?
There's 12 tracks.
Okay, that's a nice.
Yep.
That's a nice length.
Yeah, I've got 5 originals from my previous albums, 3 Savoy songs, and let's see, and then there's a few covers that are also off my previous albums, but they're covers that I'd redone from guys that inspired me growing up. So 12 for a total of 12 songs.
Okay. Now, when you were doing the record at this gig, was Daryl or any of his house band there at the time, or no?
Well, there was a wooden statue of Daryl out front. So, unfortunately, no, he didn't come out or anything. I've never met him or anything like that. But it was a great club. It was a great crowd. It was a great night. One to remember for sure.
Oh, fantastic. So what was while you were doing this, and again, you have the Savoy Brown Rhythm section with you, and was there a standout moment during this, or any added pressure because you knew you were recording it for a live album, or did you just kind of put it behind you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I let the crowd know. I told them, I said, hey, we're doing a live recording tonight, so make as much noise as you can. We had room mics, throughout the place to capture the crowd reaction and crowd noise and et cetera. And I told them, I said, if we screw up a song, we may redo a couple songs if that's okay with you guys. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So there is a couple songs that I thought we can do better. So when the show was over, I said, we're going to redo these 2 or 3 songs, And so that's what we did. And so when we went to mix the album, I had a couple versions of like 3 songs, and I had to pick the best one. But yeah, that's a good question, because me personally, some people it probably doesn't bother, but I mean, me personally, when I know I'm being recorded and I know, that's usually when I feel I can kind of feel the heat.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you go in the studio and you're all hyped up to get in.
Exactly. But the cool thing about, you're exactly right, but the cool thing about this album is we had that energy, from the crowd there. When you're in the studio, it's a very sterile environment. There's no crowd reaction. There's no, any of that stuff. You just have to put on your best game face and do your best, and you're just looking at a wall basically when you're in the studio. But doing the live album, of course I was a little bit, I knew I had to be on top of my game, and so the crowd, the energy from the crowd was full circle, because of course we feed off their energy and they feed off our energy. So that was the only difference between doing a live record and being in the studio situation.
Now, when you do go into the studio, do you try to record it as live as possible? Drums, bass, rhythm?
Yeah. I mean, typically what we do, what I've always done, and how I learned to do it from the first album I did, is you lay down what's called the bed tracks, which is the drums and the bass. You want to get those down. So I would do a scratch guitar take. Sometimes the scratch meaning it's basically a reference, and you're playing live with the bass and drums, but you're hoping to capture the bass and drums. And then if you make any mistakes on the guitar, you can go back and punch in and redo the guitar. A lot of guys, their scratch tracks, they keep, and it's on the album. But whenever I go in the studio, I like to make sure the bed tracks, the bass and drums are really nice and tight. And then I'll listen to my scratch tracks. Some of them I may keep, or some of them I may go back in the studio once the band has left. I'll usually have a couple days after we got the bed tracks done and in the can. I'll usually go back in and listen to my stuff, and then if I need to redo anything, I'll do it. And usually there's scratch vocals as well. Like when we're recording the bed tracks, I'll be kind of singing along, but it's not necessarily, what's going to be on the record. So then at the very last part of the recording session, I do the vocals for each song.
Okay. I find that it's kind of split right down the middle. Now myself, I prefer, anytime I've ever been in a recording studio, to do it where you get the kind of like, what you said, you get your drums, your bass, your rhythm guitar, and then
right.
That part's done, and then you can always go back and overdub the rhythm, the lead, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And when we record, we like to be in the same room when we record. So we're in one big live room, and of course the amplifiers are in a isolation booth, that's soundproofed, and the doors shut and everything's mic'd up. So you're hearing everything through the headphones, but you're in the same room with the drummer, who is all mic'd up, and the bass player usually goes straight through to the board. But what you got to keep in mind when you're recording your bed tracks with the bass and drums is that there's a thing called bleed over.
Oh, yeah.
And what that is like, you don't want to be singing too loud or have any extra noises coming through the drum mics, because then when you go to mix the album, you're mixing the drums and you're hearing vocals in the background. So usually when we record, I kind of just sing kind of softly, just to like kind of as a reference for the band,
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're done recording, I'll go back in and go full bore and go ahead and do my vocals, out loud in an isolation, in a vocal booth.
And of course, you don't have that luxury live. So
Yes, there is a little bit of. You're exactly right. There's a little bit of bleed over live, so it's a little more difficult to mix and stuff. But I mean, it's all good. It's a live album, so
excellent. Once again, if you're just tuning in, I am with Sean Chambers, whose new album, Live from Daryl's House Club, featuring the Savoy Brown Rhythm section, is due out on February 28th. What are your websites or social media? What's the best way to find you, Sean?
Well, you can go to SeanChambers.com, and that's SEAN, Sean. Depending on who you ask, that may be the right or the wrong way to spell it. But SeanChambers.com is my website. All of the show dates and any pertinent information is on the website. Sean Chambers Music for Facebook, and then Sean Chambers on Instagram. And I'm on Twitter or X or whatever they call it these days, but I don't really use it that much. But you can find me on X. I'm Sean Chambers as well.
Okay. Well, another song from the new record is called Red Hot Mama.
Yes, sir.
You want to tell us about that one before we play it here?
Yeah, that's just an original song that I wrote, and it's a fun song. The crowd really likes it. We usually try to get them to sing along with us, during the chorus part in the middle of the song. And this is actually off my 7th album called Welcome to My Blues. And that's one that we have fun. We have a lot of fun playing that one live. It's a slide tune, and I really like playing the slide. I like to play more slide for our shows, but yeah, it's a fun one. It's a good one.
Here's another original song off my Trouble and Whiskey album. This one's called Red Hot Mama. She's my red hot mama, knows how to blow my fuse. She's my red hot mama, knows how to blow my fuse. She make me so hot, but then she cool me too. She make me sweat, she make me moan. She cool me down till I'm chilled to my bone. My red hot mama knows how to blow my fuse. She make me so hot, but then she cool me too. Cast a spell, she used a charm. I don't fight back cause she never means no harm. My red hot mama knows how to blow my fuse. She make me so hot, but then she cool me too. Alright, you guys help us out and sing it with us, right? She's my red hot mama. My red hot mama, red hot mama, my red hot mama, red hot mama, my red hot mama, red hot mama. She make me so hot, but then she cool me too. Knows how to blow my fuse. My red hot mama knows how to blow my fuse. Red hot mama. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Red Hot Mama from Sean Chambers from the new record live from Daryl's House Club featuring the Savoy Brown Rhythm section. And going forward, why did you pick the end of February? Or was that just a logistics thing, or is there a special meeting for that?
Well, no, that's something that the label decides, my record label, Corda Valley Records. They basically tell me, you know, what dates they have available for release dates. I mean, typically you don't want to release anything around the holidays. A lot of the bigger acts, like say guys like Buddy Guy or, you know, guys like that will release stuff around the holidays, and guys like me, sometimes stuff will get buried. So usually you want to wait till after the holidays. You don't necessarily want to do January because everybody's still kind of, you know, wiping the fog out of their eyes and getting back into things. So it was either February or March. I had a couple choices for release dates, like the end of February, or there was a couple in the middle of March. So I just went ahead and chose February 28th because that's one of the options the label gave me.
Now, if it were me, Sean,
Mm-hmm.
I would have demanded February 14th so people would fall in love with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was February 28th was the only one available in February. But I feel you. I hear you. You know, that'd be good.
I could just see it now. People giving thousands, millions of copies of Live from Daryl's House Club featuring the Savoy Brown rhythm section instead of Hallmark cards, man. Think about the possibilities.
I might have to hang up and call my label and call you back. That's a good idea.
Quarto Valley needs me.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. It's actually a good idea, but, you know, February 28th was the only availability in February. So.
Well, that's all right. That's only a week and a half or so away. So
it could always be like a late Valentine's, you know?
Right? Fantastic. So with also on the album, you have a Savoy Brown record. Tell us about your relationship with those guys.
Well, I originally met the guys from Savoy Brown back in 2019 in Newton, Iowa, when my band played a festival called Bowl Full of Blues, and we played before Savoy Brown, and I believe Bernard Allison was on the bill and one or two other bands. Bernard's a good buddy of mine too. It was a good night that night. You know, I met up with Kim Simmons and became friends with him and his band, Pat and Garnett, and we all stayed friends. And then about a year and a half later, I ended up on the same record label as them, Quarter Valley Records. And they released my last album, the tribute to Hubert Sumlin, called That's What I'm Talking About. Savoy Brown stopped playing, and I was actually at the same time going through some changes with my band. So I went ahead and asked Pat and Garnett, do you want to come on board for a while and do some shows together, you know? And they said, sure, you know. And then Kim and the band and I were talking about, you know, that Savoy had some shows coming up, but Kim ended up with the cancer and everything and the treatments he was going through. He got neuropathy in his hands, so he couldn't really play guitar, but he could still play slide, you know.
Right.
And so they threw around the idea of, hey, these Savoy shows that are coming up, how would you like to front the band and front Savoy Brown, and Kim will just kind of follow along on slide and even play some harmonica and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, man, I mean, what an opportunity, right?
Right.
So, but that never came to fruition because Kim got sicker. So my first tour with Pat and Garnett was October 2022 in Europe. I had a European tour coming up, so I took those guys with me. And we would call Kim like on a day off and put him on speaker and talk to him for 15, 20 minutes. And he would say, man, and Kim, you know, he would always tell me, you know, I'm a fan of your music. Like, I have your CD player in my I have your CD in my player right now. And I'm like, I didn't know if he was just saying that or he really did. But later, his wife, who's a friend of mine now and a friend of the band's, Debbie, she said, no, he really did like your stuff. He listened to your music, and which is extremely flattering, obviously. But, you know, he told us when we were touring in Europe and he was getting a little bit sicker, he said he's really glad we were playing together and he thinks we have a great chemistry. And he goes, you guys got to keep the music going, man. So you guys, you know, got to keep it alive, you know, and hope you're having fun out there. And he told the band, you know, I miss you guys and all that stuff. And that was October 2022, and he passed away a couple months later on December 13th. 2022. So the guys and I, Pat and Garnett have been playing ever since then. So it's been over 2 years we've been playing together now. And it was nice to kind of have Kim Simmons' blessings, and him kind of, supporting what we were doing while he was fighting his illness,
It's it's the what was that movie with Kevin Bacon, 7 Degrees of Separation or 6 Degrees, whatever it was?
Yeah, something like, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Kim Simmons' tentacles reach out far beyond anything that most people realize.
I know.
That, like with you and with with we were talking earlier with Jimmy Coons of Coons Clark, the guys from Foghat. It goes on and on and on. And
I mean, if you really think about it, Kim, I believe he started Savoy Brown in 1964, and he was a big Howlin' Wolf fan.
Right.
And one of the reasons I put Louise on my last album, A Tribute to Hubert, is because he told me, and I also did, I wasn't planning on doing Tail Dragger, which is a Howlin' Wolf song, but I ended up doing it anyway, because Kim told me that when he heard Howlin' Wolf play Louise and Tail Dragger, he said that gave him chill bumps, and that those 2 songs specifically are what made him want to play the blues. So he started Savoy Brown in 64, and the whole British, blues rock invasion and all that stuff, and he was part of that. I mean, he came up playing with like Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and all those great British guitar players, and he never, I don't think he got quite as popular as some of those guys, but in my book, he's just as good as any of those guys. And what a nice guy, just what a sweet soul and human being, and just always, we talked, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 times on the phone ourselves personally, other than like doing conference calls with the band. And he was always just very supportive and would give me advice, and it's super cool, man. He's the real deal. He comes from the old school. He's one of the innovators,
And that's what you need.
Yeah.
Especially as a young musician. You don't hear much of that going on today.
No, you don't, man. It's the whole scene's totally different. Everything's we're just living in a different world.
So now that this album is going to be released on February 28th, what are we doing to either support it, or are we just going to kind of let it rest on its own merits and put out another studio disc so that you could tour on both? Or
well, no, we're going to go out on tour in May, and I have a couple dates on my website now, and I'm going to be adding some more very soon. We'll be out on tour in May, and then probably again like in July, August, and then in September we have about a 3.5 week tour in Europe already booked. And then October we have some fall dates back in the States.
Oh,
so
great.
we'll definitely be touring behind the album, and then, like I said earlier, I'd like to, within a year's time, like to back it up with a studio album with some new original material.
All right, fantastic. Well, one of those tunes, the Savoy Brown tunes that you had, was "Street Corner Talkin'."
Yes,
that you
sir.
included on the live album.
Yes.
Any particular reason why you leaned towards this one, or?
It's a song that when I started playing with the guys, a lot of people would request, "Hey, can you guys do Street Corner Talking?" And stuff like that. And I learned it, and it's one of my favorite Savoy songs to play. So we included it in our set. We primarily do the majority of my material, but we do, in our live show, we do about 5 or 6 Savoy songs. We don't necessarily do them all every night. It kind of depends on the crowd. We may do 2 or 3, we may do 5 or 6. But yeah, we do Street Corner Talking. That's definitely one of the crowd pleasers.
Okay. Well, Sean, once again, websites and everything?
Yeah, www.seanchambers.com. Facebook is Sean Chambers Music. Instagram is just Sean Chambers. Twitter or X, Sean Chambers. The music will be, we're going to have a single coming out in about a week. That'll be available on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. You'll be able to pre-order the new live album that's coming out on iTunes and Amazon and, all the usual
suspects.
Online outlets and etc.
Okay. Well, Sean Chambers live from Daryl's House Club, featuring the Savoy Brown Rhythm section, is due out on February 28th. It is on Quarto Valley Records. Sean, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to tell us all about it. And
man, it's been my pleasure, man. Thank you, Danny. It's really good talking with you again, man. It's been about a year and a half or two, and it's always good to catch up and talk with you, and I can't thank you enough for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Right back at you, my friend, because when I was asked to do this interview, and you can ask Doug, your PR guy, when he asked me to do that interview, my initial line on the email was, "I love that guy." So,
I saw that. I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. It was good. It's good hearing your voice and catching up with you again.
Yes, you too, sir. Always a pleasure. And right now we're going to go out on Street Corner Talkin', the Savoy Brown cover from Sean Chambers. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Danny.
All right. Rock on.
Once again, it's a pleasure and it's my honor to have these guys on stage with me, Pat DeSalvo, Garnett Grimm. Sadly, we lost one of my guitar heroes, Mr. Kim Simmons, so we'd like to dedicate this one to all the Savoy Brown fans in the house and the late, great, one and only Mr. Kim Simmons. This is called Street Corner Talkin'. I came to the city, left my happy home. I came to the city, left my happy home. No, I didn't do right, I learned all my lessons wrong. Street corner talking, what I'm gonna do. Street corner talking, wondering what I'm gonna do. If you can't find a job, counselor will take care of you. It's the same, what a shame, everywhere you go. It's the same, what a shame, everywhere you go. Well, there's too much to do, there's too much time for me and you. Street corner talking, what I'm gonna do. Street corner talking, what I'm gonna do. If you can't find a job, council will take care of you. I'm gonna do. If you can't find a job, council will take care of you. Thank you very much. It goes out to Kim.
There you go, some Sean Chambers here on Rock On Radio. Woo-hoo. By the way, I forgot to mention that if you hadn't figured it out from the Allie Colleen interview, the second song was Oklahoma Mountains, which she speaks about in the interview. Here it is for those of you who may or may not have been waiting. Recently, I had the honor and the privilege to speak to Judy Collins.
Yes.
I mean, she's a legend.
She's looked at life from both sides now.
Yep, and Send in the Clowns. Did you know that both of those tunes, actually, she didn't write? They were written by somebody else. Yeah. But it was truly a pleasure to speak to her.
Nice.
And she's gone through some tough times lately. Her husband passed away, actually, just days before this interview. And friends of mine, who you know, Stoney, and Bill Nutter, who was my the sound guy for the Bragg Band, they both used to always do lights and sound for her whenever she would come into the area.
Nice.
And it's funny, I said to Stoney, should I mention you? And Stoney's like, no, don't name drop. And Nutter's like, did you tell her I said hi? I was like, no, I'm stuck in between. She really was a pleasure. She's 85 years old. She just set out on the road February 2nd.
Wow.
To do a combination book tour and concert tour. Wow. So here it is, my interview with Judy Collins.
Hi, how are you, Danny?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Here I am, Danny, to talk to you.
Oh, geez. Well, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad I'm here.
You and I both. Okay, well, gosh, you got so much happening over the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Beginning, unfortunately, on Wednesday, but
Yeah.
You're going to be 85 years old. You have a new album out. You're about to tour. Gosh, I don't even know, Judy. I don't even know where to start. Let's start. Let's start with the new album.
Well, let's start with the new poetry book, because
Okay.
the new album, which I'm doing an album of duets, and there's some wonderful features. One of which is a song of David Crosby, called Radio, which is a duet with me and Graham on a song of David Crosby's. That's one of our starters. And then we're doing Dreamers as a big choral piece, and Michael McDonald songs with me, and so on, which is going to be done by, probably it's going to be out in, where are we now? January, February, March, probably April. But
Okay.
meantime, my book of poetry, which is called Sometimes It's Heaven, is coming out on the 28th of March. And it's called Sometimes It's Heaven. And it's a book of 100 poems that I wrote, actually at the behest of my husband. A few years ago, I wrote them, and then they form this poetry book.
And I see that the additional title is Love, Loss, and Redemption.
Yes, yes. It's a good title.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Sure. It's poetry about my life, which means that it deals with personal things, with observations, with the kind of a lyric that I sometimes can turn into a poem. So it's about my life. It's almost as though it were a journal in a way, you know. There is the aspect of this poetry book that has to do with many of my experiences and much that's happened. So in a way, it's autobiographical.
Okay. Now, one of the things about music and songwriters who I've known my entire life, and being a musician myself, and I know with a lot of songwriters, they write things, and then once that's done and the music is out to the world, it's up to people's interpretation. When you write lyrics, somebody can interpret them one way, and other people interpret them a totally different way. Is that how the book is with the poems? Are they pretty straightforward, leading us as Judy Collins fans to points in your life, or is it open for interpretation?
Everything is always open to interpretation. Life itself
Very
is
true.
open to interpretation. So anybody who gets their hands on what you're doing will have some kind of personal response to it that has to do with their lives. You know, it takes me back actually to the fact of what I do. I am, of course, as you know, I do about 100 shows a year, have for a long time. And, of course, with the traveling, that makes even more time that I'm out on the road. But I love it, and I'm devoted to it. And what happens on stage when I'm singing is that this period of an hour and a half, which is about what my concerts run, an hour and a half of singing and talking. And during this hour and a half, I am in the dream state. I am doing the things that I have to do. You know, I tell the jokes, I tell the stories, I reminisce, I sing the songs, and the people who are listening to me have a chance to be attentive. They can't use their phones, they can't talk to their friends, they can't socialize, they can't get up and go out of the theater. So they're captive in a way, and they have an opportunity to meditate, to dwell on things they might have thought they should think about that are happening next week or next year or last year. And it's a meditative state, really, for both of us, all of us. And I think that is where the interpretation comes in. I think people are listening with their own experience in mind.
You just touched on something that many interviews I've done what has also been mentioned: people not being on their phones.
Oh,
And
yes.
it amazes me when you go to a concert how you would not want to, or a show or an event, where you would not want to look at it with your own two eyes and not through the lens of a cell phone.
Of course.
And I know some performers it really, really annoys. And how important is that to you to have that focus?
People are not allowed to use to use cameras or telephones in my shows. If they do sneak it, they should feel guilty and go home with a guilty conscience. But otherwise, we don't. It doesn't happen, basically. And so it is that space which is so rare in our lives when we're not on our phones, including myself. And it is a rare and a very, very important piece of mental health, I believe. So it contributes to the mental health of my audiences.
I wish more performers would do that, ban cell phones. But in today's day and age, I don't know if it's people throw fits over the smallest little things, Well, my kids are with the babysitter. I ain't leaving my phone in some box or putting it away. So that's a struggle, I think, that creatives are going to have to. And then, of course, all the videos that are out there that are not approved. I think it's kind of like social media. It's a double-edged sword. You need it, but you don't want it.
The publisher of my book, which is Andrews McMeel, which Bob Caro told me was one of the best publishers in the country. And the publishers have put together a postcard which has a picture of me at the age of 13, standing in my white organdy dress in front of the orchestra in Denver, where I was playing a Mozart concerto at 13 with another young pianist. And it's called Sometimes It's Heaven, poem of love, loss, and redemption. And on the back is a poem for Tennessee Williams called Singing Like the Dead. I'll read it to you. Bits of shattered rainbow falling on my bed, light from diamond windows. What was it you said? Catastrophe succeeding. Not the watersheds we all thought they were, while building the warhead. Saw the winning races, watched the thoroughbred, got down on our knees, knowing what was in our minds would likely be unsaid, praying for the twinkling of bright stars up ahead, light beyond the nightmares, breaking up the dread, shattered rainbow pieces, singing like the dead.
Very
so
nice.
They did a beautiful job, and they don't usually put photographs on their covers, but they were very taken, as I was, with this photograph, which showed up in the middle of one of my concerts, I think. We found it. It wasn't perfect, and they wanted to have a better version of it, so it would be more easily printed. But finally, they just bowed their heads and said, okay, we'll take it. And so that's why it's on the cover, or on the back cover of this, and in the book, of course, and on the cover, this beautiful picture of me at 13.
Did you remember the picture? Did you know that had how'd they get there? How did they find it?
I had it somewhere in my archives, and one day it just fell out and appeared, and then we could never find it again. We got it over to McMeel, but we couldn't find it to tell them whether it was a better version or not. So they took what we had, which was great. It looks fine, don't you think?
Yeah.
I just asked my assistant. It looks great.
Oh, hello, assistant.
Hi, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron. Pleasure to meet you as well.
This is Danny.
So, when with the book, will you be reading excerpts from it on this
Yes.
upcoming tour?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll have a book tour with this also in conjunction with my singing tour. So I've also done an audio.
An
I've
audio
read the
book.
whole book.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I like those.
So that's coming out too. Yeah.
Nice. So you're going to be really busy, Judy. You're going to be all over the place starting February 2nd.
Busy. I'm always busy. I'm always all over the place.
You're going to be at the Ryman, and then you're going to be at the Town Hall in New York. You're going to be with Richard Thompson's joining you on stage, huh?
Yes, I am. I love Richard.
Richard's current wife and I were bandmates for about 5 years. I used to be in a band with his
Zara?
wife.
What is her name?
Yep,
Zara?
Zara.
Yeah.
Yes, Zara Phillips. Yep, we used to have a blast.
Zara.
So the show is an hour and a half. And do you do any VIP greets or anything like that?
I did when Stephen and I were out. We did the VIP greets, and Graham does them, and I think we will start again. You have to get yourself you're ready for the stage when you go out. This will have to be pre-show, not after show.
Right.
But I think I'll start doing them. Because I like to get together with the audience, and it's just hard after the show because it takes too much out of you, and you got to get to the hotel and so on.
So, do you, over the years, have you found that interaction with your fans to be the best part of what you do, or no? Okay,
it's the part of what I do. It's not the best part. The singing, the work is the best part. And then you meet people back, and sometimes it's very lovely, and sometimes you don't know who they are, and sometimes it's perfect, and sometimes it's it's an interference with the fact that you have to get to the hotel, get to sleep, and get up at 4 a.m. So I would not say it's my favorite part, but it's important, and when you can, you do.
That's excellent. And then, this tour takes you through the end of March, right? I'm
on tour all my life. That's what I do. I do about 100 shows a year, and so that's what I do.
Well, takes you through the end of April. There you go. So you are going to be very busy. Thank you so much. Best of luck on the tour and with the book.
Thank you, dear.
All right.
Have a good day.
It was an honor and a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Bye, honey.
Does she sound amazing or what?
Hope I sound that good at 85.
Yeah, 85.
I'm just traveling around. I'm touring. I always just tour. Okay.
Yeah, that's what she said. It's what I do. There's a lot of that interview that I had to edit out because her and I kind of went off on a tangent.
Stop.
No, I can't. They told me I had 15 minutes with her, and I wound up being on the phone for like 25. But she was very gracious, and she was just incredible. And it was fun.
Nice.
I interviewed, we have a couple of things coming up towards the end of the month. George Lynch was the bass player of Dokken, metal band Dokken. Also, the member or the head of the Lynch Mob was another name of his band. But I interviewed him, and I'm going to be interviewing David Schopf, I think his last name. I forget. Anyway, about the next rock and roll fantasy camp.
Okay.
Which this one has Jason. It's called Whole Lot of Fantasy Camp. Jason Bonham, John Bonham's son, will be part of this one, and George Lynch, and a host of others. Anyway, I had an interview with George Lynch. This show was great. Judy Collins. I want to thank Judy. I want to thank Sean Chambers, who is always a lot of fun, and our new friend, Allie Colleen.
The New Jersey girl.
Yeah. Lasher will have her pumping gas before you know it.
No, she pumps gas. She's not going to pump gas.
Right? Again, her show will be March 2nd at the New Hope Winery with Deco Entertainment's Southpaw opening up. So that's it.
Yeah.
Next week we have Papa Cheeto, isn't it?
Oh, Papa Cheeto.
Papa Cheeto, he's got his own band.
That's right.
He got his own band. Laura's got a new band. She ditched the family for a couple of ladies, and now Papa's got his own thing.
Nice.
So until then, rock on! Hi, this is Danny Coleman, the host of Rock On Radio, the Rock On Radio Indie Hour, and Danny Coleman's Got the Blues. If you ever want to get in touch with me or find out more about me and my programs, please visit DCROR.com. That's the quick link for Danny Coleman's RockOnRadio.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support.